The woman in a sari. My college was in my hometown, just 3 kilometers away from my house. It was January, and a light drizzle was falling. On my way to college, there was an unpaved road that had turned muddy due to the rain. As I approached that road, I saw a woman waving at me to stop. She asked me to drop her off nearby, as the slippery road was making it hard for her to walk. I politely refused and said, "Auntie, it's difficult for me to ride my scooter with someone sitting behind me. The roads are slippery, we might fall." But despite my refusals, she sat behind me and told me to drive. I started riding. To my surprise, I was quite comfortable. I never thought I could ride like this. It felt like I had overcome my fear. After a few minutes, I asked her, "Auntie, where do you want to go?" In a cold tone, she replied, "Wherever you are going." That answer sent chills down my spine. How did she know where I was headed? I slowed down but kept riding. A few minutes later, she suddenly said, "Stop here." Without hesitation, I stopped my scooter. But the moment I turned around, she was gone. I immediately called my mom. She was terrified but tried to calm me down with a joke. "You never let me sit behind you, but you gave a ghost a ride." I still don't know who she was. And I never saw her again on my way to college. Shankar's debt. My grandfather was a relatively wealthy man and had helped many people in the village. One of them was Shankar, a farmer, who owed my grandfather a huge debt. Grandpa had lent him a large sum of money for his only daughter's wedding during a time of great need. Out of gratitude, Shankar deeply respected my grandfather. One day, Grandpa was returning home very late. It was the rainy season, and he could barely see the road. He struggled through the muddy path, unable to find his way. As he fumbled through the darkness, worry creeping into his mind, a familiar voice called from behind. It was Shankar, holding a lantern. Shankar immediately told Grandpa to start walking and said he would hold the lantern behind him to light the way. But he strictly warned him, "Do not look back." Without thinking much about it, Grandpa began walking. Along the way, they talked about Shankar's daughter, his crops, the village, the roads, and the rain. They chatted the entire time, and Grandpa never once looked back. Finally, when they reached the edge of the village, Shankar stopped. "I can't go any further. I have someplace else to be," he said. Grandpa continued on his way and soon reached a group of people gathered in discussion. Curious, he asked what was going on. What they told him froze him in place. Shankar had died that very day. So who had guided him through the dark? It wasn't someone, it was something. Shankar had returned from the dead to repay his debt and help my grandfather one last time. The storage room at midnight. Our dormitory in medical school was an old building, directly facing a nursing dormitory. Our rooms overlooked the corridors of the nursing hostel. Naturally, at first, we were quite excited about this. But our excitement gradually faded when we realized that it was a senior nurse's dormitory. My room happened to be at the very end of our hostel. From my window, I had a clear view of the last room in the nursing dormitory's corridor, a room marked storage room. A room where no one stayed. A room that was supposed to be empty. That night, I had just returned from an exhausting shift. My body felt heavy with fatigue. I quickly freshened up and grabbed a cold drink. It was a sweltering summer night, and the clock had just struck 2 a.m. I sat by the window, sipping my drink, when something caught my eye. The storage room light was on. The door was shut, and so were the windows. But through the frosted glass, I could clearly see a figure inside. A woman. She was pacing in circles around the room, moving unnaturally fast. I blinked, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. Who on earth would be inside a storage room at this hour? A strange uneasiness crept over me, but exhaustion was stronger than curiosity. I finished my drink and dismissed the thought. I needed sleep. The next morning, I attended my classes as usual. It was just another normal day, until, as I returned, I noticed police cars parked outside the nursing hostel. Confused, I walked closer and asked what had happened. A police officer, his face grim, told me, "A nurse hanged herself in the storage room last night." My heart stopped. Flashes of last night came rushing back. That woman. That figure pacing frantically in circles. While I was watching her, she was preparing to die.